I made $34,600 trading Forex over the past few months. Today, I'm gonna break down every single trade that I take, both the wins and the losses. What are the best trade setups, what was my game plan, and what are the biggest mistakes that I make so that you guys can learn from it. Number 1, this was a trade on AUD USD, which I made about 3.8k. So I'm just gonna quickly walk you through this entire trade step by step. So first of all, you can see there was a lot of imbalance, right? A lot of supply inside the market right here pushing the price down. So when there's such a large amount of imbalance, this is when you can draw your order block right here. This is the order block that created this imbalance. So we know that at this point of time, the banks, the financial institutions, the smart money, whatever you like to call it, they entered for a large amount of sell position right here. So this imbalance is going to act as like a magnet, alright? So which means potentially there's going to be some remaining orders right here yet to be filled. So price is most likely going to come back up there, fill up some orders before going down even further. That was my assumption, at least at first. So price goes down there, and then we can see price mitigate some sort of 4-hour strong demand zone that I've marked up on the left hand side. And then this is when demand start overpowering supply. You can look at the candlestick momentum. This is when the candlestick starts slowing down a little bit. You can see the supply pretty much disappearing, and that's when demand step into the market, take control of price. And how do we know demand step into the market? When this supply zone right here, it failed, right? If this supply zone were to do its job, price will react from this supply zone, continue to go down even lower, breaking past this last low and just continue creating that lower low, lower low, lower low, lower high bearish order flow. So that is when this supply zone failed, and then we get the market shift to the upside where price goes up there, break past the last internal lower high, giving us a shift in structure from bearish to bullish. And before that, you can see we also created a flip zone, because this is when this supply zone failed, and then we got a flip reaction right here, and this is when your supply to demand flip zone is formed right here. So this is really at the point of time when demand stepped into the market and overpower supply. So we know that price is most likely gonna pull back after the market shift, and where is price gonna pull back to? It's gonna pull back to this unmitigated flip zone that we have right here. So that's when I patiently waited for price to tap into this flip zone. At this point of time, I still did not enter for the trade yet because I want to wait for my liquidity sweep. Based on this, there is available liquidity below this swing low, right? So I just patiently waited, and then later on we got price coming down there, sweep the available liquidity below this low, and that is when I potentially got in for my entry right there. Very nice sniper entry right after the liquidity sweep and after we mitigate from this flip zone. So my target was this order block, because earlier on, like I said, imbalance act as like a magnet, right? So potentially there could be some sell orders right here yet to be filled, and price could come up there and then go down even further. That is potentially what could happen. So I placed my target at this order block, and my stop loss was just below this flip zone, and price just slowly play around a little bit, and then eventually, boom, demand step into the market and cause price to push all the way up here to this order block. Now, this trade was supposed to be a little bit more, like I could have made more money on this trade, like if I targeted this extreme end. You can see there was a lot of momentum, but like I said, you never ever want to assume what the market is gonna do. At this point of time, when I entered for this trade, I had no idea that this will happen, right? So knowing this, I want to make sure that my target is conservative. I don't want to set my expectation too high because the market is just unpredictable. So this is when I place it at the edge of the order block, knowing for a fact that price will go up there at least to the edge of the order block before going down even further. But obviously, lots of demand actually come into the market and just completely bypass that order block. And it is what it is. I'm just gonna take the win because I followed my plan, and this was a successful trade in my playbook. So on trade number 2, I made about 6.4k trading NZD USD. Before we move on to the next trade, you are going to see a lot of big numbers inside this entire video, like $6,000 profit, $5,000 profit. But especially if you are a beginner, I don't want you to pay attention to the monetary amount. I want you to pay attention to the risk to reward of each trade. The positive, the high risk to reward ratio, and look at how I managed to actually risk a small amount of money to make a large amount of profit. I'm trading with like a 6 figures account, so I'm usually risking about 0.5% to 1% on each trade. That results in the $6,000, $5,000 profit because it makes sense. If not, trade number 2, this was on NZD USD. So we got price creating this bullish order flow, right? Where price is creating the higher highs, higher lows, higher high. And after price breakout of this little consolidation right here, we got the range. We are expecting an initiation. And then the next stage is that we are expecting price to come back down here, mitigate this previous demand range, and then go up even further, right? Your principle of order flow: range, initiation, mitigation, continuation. Okay, so knowing this, I actually waited very patiently after this break of structure, waited for price to pull back to where? This refined demand zone that I have right here, right? Once again, you can draw this entire demand range up, or you can just do what I do, which is to refine it to, yeah, basically just a pivot candle just like this. So I waited for price, come back into this demand zone, and that is when I dropped down to my lower time frame to actually look for my entry. You never ever know when is the perfect time for you to actually enter at this point of interest until you get a shift in order flow. Does that make sense? Anyways, you can see what I basically mean is that price is gonna turn bearish to facilitate that pullback. Okay, so it's gonna turn bearish on the internal structure. We're gonna start seeing lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. My goal as a trader is to wait for this internal structure to shift back bullish, so that the internal structure, the internal order flow is aligned with our swing structure, our swing order flow, which is bullish, right? So I want to see this swing pullback to be oval, and that only come in the form of some sort of market shift. Okay, so price come down there, right? Based on this was the last internal lower high before going down even further. All of this is like smaller internal structure, which I wouldn't really consider as like our larger internal structure right here. So based on that, this is still the last internal lower high. But what we do have was a fractal market shift right here, right? So this was a fractal lower high. If you look at a higher time frame right here, you can see this was a fractal lower high. So once we got price breaking past the last fractal lower high, we know that price is going to pull back to this last internal lower high. Now this is the key, ladies and gents. A lot of you guys think that once price break this, we are going to go up bullish right now, but no, this is to just to signal to us that right now the internal structure, the smaller internal structure, is potentially gonna pull back to this previous strong internal lower high, respect it, and go down even further. That could potentially happen. So you don't want to have like your expectations and think that like price is gonna go all the way up there right now, right? So yeah, that's all it does. So I actually entered after this fractal market shift, price pull back to my demand zone right here, or you can argue that this is a flip zone, right? Demand zone, price mitigated, and yeah, we just went up into the profit, right? And I don't know why I just pressed, but let's just go back this. Yeah, price come back down here, mitigate this demand zone, and then we pretty much targeted this swing high right here. This was a week 4-hour swing high. If we look at a 4-hour time frame, remember, always look at the higher time frame when you are in doubt, right? And you realize that this was our 4-hour week swing high that we have drawn right here. So our expectation is that after this swing pullback is over, price is gonna come back down here, mitigate this demand range, and continue, right? And potentially break past this week swing high. So that is the target right there, and you can see this was a pretty basic setup, right? Yeah, nothing to say about this. This was just a pretty basic setup. Trade number 3, AUD USD 4.4k profit. Alright, so for this trade, right, I'm gonna start off with the higher time frame and slowly explain to you guys exactly what I did. On the higher time frame, is always king, by the way. You can see price was creating that lower highs, lower low dynamic. So based on this, this was the last lower high that took out this low that we have right here. So this was the last strong lower high. I will identify this as the last swing lower high. So when price go up there and break past this last swing lower high, giving us our market shift, we know that there's a shift in structure and price is potentially turning from bearish to bullish on the higher time frame. So this is when I look at this and I'm identifying what is the point of interest that led to this market shift, and that is the point of interest that I want to pay attention to. So based on this, you can see there was some sort of supply right here, right? Very obvious supply zone that created this lower high that led to price breaking past this last low. So this is the supply zone, and then we got a flip right here where price reacted from this supply zone. Once again, if this supply zone were to do its job, supply will step into the market and continue to cause price to go down even further. But in this case, we got that failed reaction where demand stepped into the market and overpowered supply, causing this supply zone to fail. So at this point of time, this is pretty much your flip zone. Okay, so that's our flip zone. Okay, I'll just mark that out as the daily flip zone. And then I was just waiting for price to get to my flip zone, right? So I've drawn out right here. I've actually refined it to this area right here. So this is the 4-hour flip zone. So based on this, you know, at that point of time after this market shift, remember, we are expecting a pullback to happen. And where is price going to pull back to? It's most likely going to pull back to this flip zone that we have right here. So I just waited for price to pull back to this flip zone. At this point of time, I was considering entering for the trade, but I think I was too busy to actually do so. That is when we got additional confluence, right? Price actually come down there, swept available liquidity below these inducements, right? These equal lows right here, where most retail traders will think that price is going to go up right now and they enter for a buy right here, place their stop loss below these lows. Massive trap, alright? So that's when we got liquidity being built up below these lows, price come down, sweep available liquidity from these inducements and then start going up. Now when that happened, I have my sweep zone actually right here. So within this flip zone right here, there is a sweep zone. So sweep zone is basically a zone that swept liquidity. So this is a zone that swept liquidity that we have on the left hand side. So I just waited very patiently for price to come back down, mitigate this sweep zone, and that is when once again jump down to the lower time frame to look for my entry. Okay, so like I said, I want to actually enter for a buy, because if you look at the higher time frame that we have started on, we know that right now after this market shift, price is just pulling back to this flip zone, and then right now it's going up even further. So on the lower time frame, I want to see the order flow aligned with our higher time frame order flow, which is bullish, which means right now, since price is pulling back to this sweep zone, I want to see this turn bullish, and that only comes when we got the market shift once again confirming to us there's a shift in structure, there's a shift in order flow. So price come here, right? This is the last lower high before price come down there, take a little bit of liquidity, tap into this sweep zone, and then price come up there, right? That is when we got a shift in structure, shift in order flow. And then if you zoom in a little bit, what we have right here is that this is actually some sort of a flip plus sweep zone, right? So yeah, so this is a flip zone, right, which we have known because price reacted from this supply zone, creating the failed reaction right here. But it's also a flip plus sweep zone because this flip zone swept liquidity. You can see right here, this was the first time this flip zone was being created, and then price come up here, mitigate again before come down there, sweeping available liquidity from this low before going back up. So that is a flip plus sweep zone. So that is when after this market shift on the lower time frame, I waited for price to pull back to this flip plus sweep zone, enter for my trade, very precise entry, and that is when I targeted this supply zone that we have right here. And you can see this was a trade that took very long. I believe this took about freaking ages, man. This took about 10 days or something. And this trade taught me about patience, because at this point of time when price came all the way up here and it started reversing against me, this is when you start feeling emotional, you start panicking. Oh my god, what if the trade does not go in my plan? What if I'm a loser? What if I suck at trading? All these stupid ass doubts just start clouding your judgment, and that is when you need to trust your analysis and trust that you have done your research as a trader. Just let the trade do its thing, just let it play out. So that is when, yeah, I just trust my analysis, sit there, bite my tongue, trust the analysis, and eventually it played out, come into this supply zone and got me out right here. And you can see right here, right, this is really when the internal order flow has aligned with our swing order flow, right? Everything is bullish, the lower time frames are bullish, higher time frame are also bullish, and that is when potentially I could have targeted this 4-hour wick swing high actually right here. If I targeted right there, I would have made much more profit, but once again I was just being conservative, right, by just targeting this supply zone, because what can happen is that price can just come up to this supply zone and continue to consolidate within this swing range before exploding and going up even further. So I do not want to risk holding this trade for another freaking 5 weeks, right? So yeah, I just got out right there. But like I said, this is really when you are able to get those high probability trade setups where you can target the wick high, and yeah, and just see how the trade play out. And if you just fast forward a little bit, I believe price went up there and break past the wick swing high eventually. Yeah, I can see this is why I say I don't want to hold the trade too long, because price can stay in this consolidation. I just want to get in fast, not really fast, but I just want to get the hell out of my trade and secure my profits. Yeah, I can see price eventually break above this wick swing high and continue this bullish order flow. Okay, trade number 4 was interesting. I made about $5,100 in like 15 minutes or less than that. Because what happened was that liquidity got taken out and then news came into the market at that point of time as well. So you have to admit, I kind of got a little bit lucky right here. But I like to think that luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? So what happened right here was that if you look at a higher time frame, like we always do, price was extremely bearish, right? So right now price is just potentially pulling back to this last supply range that we have right here to continue this bearish order flow. So I zoomed down to the lower time frame and I was just waiting for this entire bullish pullback this swing pullback to be over, and that is when, if I zoom in right here, you can see the internal structure is still bullish, internal break of structure to the upside, and then based on that, this was the last internal higher low, right? So this is when I waited for price to come down into this little demand zone right here. And you can see this demand zone were like struggling to hold its weight, because if this demand zone were to do its job, price will just pull back into this area right here and then just start going up, potentially with a lot of momentum. This is when I really start seeing that bullish momentum that we have earlier on just started fading away. It's really when supply really stepped into the market and overpower demand, right? So at this point of time, I just patiently waited right here, waiting for this consolidation right here. This was just like a very quick scalp, get in and out fast, and I just waited for price to go up there, break above this little consolidation, and I knew for a fact that this was just a liquidity sweep, and this is when price started consolidating here a little bit and come down here. When at this point of time, this is when there was a 15-minute order block being created right here. You can see very minor order block, but yeah, this is a very small little order block right here, 15-minute order block or supply zone, whatever I like to call it. I just waited for price to pull back into this 15-minute order block, and I just shot that shit, and I took it all the way down here to this previous demand zone that we have right here. Because if you look at the internal structure, it is technically still quite bullish, so I just don't want to risk it, right? So yeah, so that's that. And yeah, this was a very quick trade. I believe this was about $5,000 in profit. Yep, $5,000 in profit, and this was just like in less than 15 minutes. And like I said earlier, this is, at that point of time, it was 8:15. So that's about 15 minutes before a news come out. I forget what the news was, a high impact news, non-farm payroll or CPI. But once it came out, it actually added on to my technical analysis judgment, which said that I should enter for a sell, right? So I believe it was some bearish news or something, but just caused price to just collapse like this, like 100 pips just like this. So yeah, I think I forgot to keep track of the time, and I didn't knew that the news was coming out. If not, I wouldn't have entered for this trade, to be completely honest with you, right? Because I don't like to trade before news. So I would argue that this is somewhat a mixture of luck and also preparation and opportunity, I guess. Okay, so the next trade is actually on Euro JPY. I actually entered for a sell here the first time round, and I made about 3.7k. And then later on, I actually entered for a buy to trade the counter trend, and I made about 2.7k. So total we made about, like, I don't know, $6,000 or something, yeah, on these two trades on Euro JPY. Okay, first of all, let's just start off with the higher time frame. You can see this was priced extremely bullish, and then based on this was the last swing higher low. So if price were to continue bullish, price is most likely gonna come down here after this break of structure, tap into this last high low and continue going up even further. But that did not happen. Once again, we got the market shift right here, which does is a shift in structure from bullish to bearish. Okay, so at this point of time, after this market shift, we do get a bearish break of structure to the downside, which pretty much confirmed to us that, yep, we are in the seller's market. Alright, so that is when I'm expecting price to potentially pull back. And where is it going to pull back to, right? It's going to pull back to this previous supply range before going down even further. And if you look towards the left hand side, there is a supply zone right there. So if you go down to the lower time frame, and we will see that supply zone right there. Now we can see it right here on the left hand side. We got a little supply zone that led to this break of structure to the downside, and then later on price pretty much came back up into this previous supply zone and then started continuing. So at this point of time, this is when I look for my first short position, right? I actually entered when price mitigated this previous supply zone right here, and then I just entered right there at the edge of the zone. I think this was a risk entry. I did not waited for confirmation. I just placed like a sell limit order at this zone right here, and I just got tapped into the trade. And then yeah, later on I just trade with the overall bearish order flow, and I targeted this weak low that we have right here, this little demand zone, this little order block that we have right here. Yeah, so that's that. Very simple trade setup, nothing much to say about this. And then later on, price just continued bearish, and then it came here, right? So this is when it gets interesting, because if you look at the higher time frame, right, what happened is that right here, this is when we got another bearish break of structure to the downside. And after a break of structure, I'm anticipating price to start pulling back. And where is it gonna pull back to? It's gonna pull back to the previous supply range, like what it did right here. So based on this, if I were to refine, or rather I were to draw the supply zone that led to this break of structure, it will be this supply zone that we have right here. Okay, so if we just maybe pay price back a little bit right here, So at this point of time, when I saw this, I knew for a fact that price is most likely going to pull back to this supply range before continuing down even further. So I wanted to take advantage of this and trade the counter trend move. So I go down to the 15-minute time frame, and that is when I patiently waited for some sort of liquidity to be swept, right? Price come down there. You see, started consolidating here a little bit, and then swept a little bit of liquidity from the left hand side right here before started reversing, creating our sweep zone. So once we got this sweep zone, I just waited for price to tap into this sweep zone so that I can trade the counter trend, right? And then later on, when price stepped into the sweep zone, I was still waiting for liquidity to be swept once again, and this is when liquidity got swept from this swing low, and that is when I got tapped into the trade. Now, honestly, for this trade, it doesn't matter if you enter right here or right here, because here there is a little bit of liquidity being swept right here as well. Doesn't really matter, but I just entered a little bit later right here. And yeah, you can see later on price just went up in profit, because this is really when we are able to capitalize the counter trend, right? So the best way to really trade counter trend is at the start of the pullback. Okay, so yeah, later on you can see price just went up there in profit and just ultimately tap us out of the trade. As simple as that, right? So this was a pro trend move, right? Obviously, I will argue that this is going to be much more higher probability than this trade, because this is a trade that was aligned with our swing order flow, right? If you look at the higher time frame, price was bearish, and when I entered for this trade on the lower time frame, price was bearish as well. So you can see the lower time frame and the higher time frame are aligned. So this is when we are able to get a high probability trade set up. And as for this trade right here, there was not really much of 100% or rather strong conviction and certainty that price is most likely going to pull back to this supply range. Because what can happen is that price can just pull back to this previous little, I don't know what the hell you call this, small little supply zone, and then just go down even further. That could potentially happen. I will argue this is a medium probability trade setup. It was still high probability because we did swap a little bit of liquidity, but since this was a counter trend trade, this is not going to be as high probability as this, even though we did make more money on this trade than this trade right here. Okay, so before we move on to trade number 7, we need a little bit of tea, please. Gosh, you need tea to focus, guys. I'm telling you, you guys think I'm clowning about this, but green tea makes you a much more focused trader. You can see right now I'm 30 minutes in the video and I'm still focused, laser focused, and still having so much energy to really conquer the markets. Anyways, let's get back to it. Alright, before my autistic self take control of this video, which I do not want that to happen. What happened is that if you look at this right here, once again, very obvious bearish order flow, right? So we do have, if you start with the higher time frame, like we always do, we got a little bit of sweat of liquidity right here. So yeah, based on this was the last supply zone. Okay, so this was a very nice supply zone right here, and then price came into this supply zone before going down even further. And then there's a little bit of liquidity available above these highs right there. So just waited for price to come up there, sweep the available liquidity above those highs before coming back down. If you realize in most of my trades, I always wait for the liquidity, because liquidity is basically what moves the market, right? If you want to capture this big move, this large move in price, you need to wait for liquidity to be swept, because they only happen after the smart money gain that liquidity to fuel price to wherever they want. So after we got the liquidity sweep from the upside, supply zone, bucket shift, right, where tells us that this little pullback is over, and right now we are turning bearish again, and then price created the lower high right here, creating another supply zone that led to this internal break of structure to the downside. I just waited for price to pull back to this supply zone, and if you look at right here, there's actually another little liquidity sweep right there, and that is when we got our entry, bam, right there. And yeah, took it all the way down here to this little demand zone that actually created this huge amount of imbalance, this bullish imbalance in price. So I just took it down there. Right, very quick trade. Once again, I believe this was about less than 1 hour or so. Yeah, or about 1.5 hours. This trade, how much did I make? I think I made about 3.7k. Yup, 3.7k on this trade. Very simple, bread and butter continuation trade setup. Get a little bit of liquidity right there and to fuel the entire move down. Okay, so I wanted to save the best for the last. So on this trade on AUD USD, we made about 7.4k. And it was on 2 accounts. One is my 6 figures account, and the other is a 10k account. So the 10k account, I won about $1,000. But it's pretty impressive because $1,000 on a 10k account, that's actually a 10% win. So that's pretty impressive to me, right? So like I said, don't look at the monetary amount, look at the percentage gain, look at the risk to reward ratio. All right, so based on this, we got once again bearish order flow, right? This was the last supply zone that led to this bearish break of structure to the downside, and then we just waited for price to pull back to this previous supply zone. And remember, right here, why did price turn bullish right here? Price turned bullish to facilitate that pullback back to this previous supply zone to continue that bearish order flow on the higher time frame. That is why I always say you guys must always start your analysis on the higher time frame and then slowly work your way down to refine your trade entries for better timing. Okay, so that's when price come up into this supply zone, and that is when we take a freaking liquidity sweep again, god damn it, and then price goes down there. Okay, price come here, mitigate this. Oh, actually this trade, I think I know why I actually won this trade, because I was actually on a bus. I remember I was using my phone to trade, which I extremely hate because the phone screen is so goddamn small, I can't really see what's happening right here. I was on a bus in Brunei because I was actually deployed to Brunei to actually train with the Bruneian soldiers. So I was on a bus. I believe we were going to a shopping mall to have a little bit of fun after intense training, and then I was on the bus looking at this trade. So I was just waiting for price to actually mitigate this little order block right here. Right, this was a little, yeah, I can see this was a little supply zone order block right here, and then yeah, I just waited for price to mitigate it and then came down, and then I missed this entry because once again I was busy with military training. So that is when I just waited for price to actually make that pullback, right? So price actually pulled back to some sort of like little supply zone right here, and that is when I got my opportunity to really enter for the trade. So yeah, I entered right here after that mitigation of this order block, and I knew that this bearish order flow would continue, and that is when I targeted this little demand zone that I have right here on the left hand side, because remember, all of this demand zone right here that is being created during this bullish structure, price is gonna utilize them as a reaction point to facilitate that pullback in price. So you can see price came down here, use this demand zone to cause price to pull back to this previous supply zone before continuing down even further, as simple as that. So yeah, I just targeted this little demand zone. I could have targeted right here actually to be conservative, but I don't know why I actually entered right here. I actually forgot why I actually targeted right here, but I believe it was for a good reason, right? Because I think I wanted to enter for the first trade right here, and then I wanted to scale in for another trade right here, and then when I scale in for this trade, when price pull back into this little supply zone, this little order block right here on the 15-minute time frame, I just wanted to be conservative and targeted this trade right here. So you can see I'm very smart when it comes to actually managing my profits, because the last thing I want to happen is for price to actually go in my profit and then come up there and stop me out, and then I would be freaking ending up with nothing, even though I was up like $5,000 at some point of time. So on the first trade, I went for a little wider target. For the second trade, on a scale in trade, I wanted to make sure that I secure some of the profits back into my bank account first. So I got out right here at this supply zone. And yeah, then I let the other trade run all the way down here to my ultimate take profit. That's that. Now, I don't want to be that trading guru who just flexes his profits without showing you guys valuable lessons. Since day one, I've always tried to be the honest guy in this industry who is willing to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly of trading. And yeah, so here's how August have been for me. And I'm gonna be honest, it has been a complete shit show. I've been going through a losing streak, and now looking back at it, I realize, or rather, I've never learned my lesson. August is actually one of those slowest and choppiest months in the entire year, along with January and December, right? So that means in August, there's actually not much trading opportunity because sometimes price goes sideways, or there's just not much areas for me to actually enter for that high probability trade setups. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some nice trade setups that was aligned with my plan, and I took it, and I still encountered loss just like this. So far, I'm down like 2.5%. But I've actually entered for a trade about, I'll say, I think last weekend. Oh no, just a few days ago. Yeah, I entered for this trade just a few days ago, and I targeted this area right here. So yeah, this was just a quick counter trend trade setup because I was honestly desperately trying to get out of the losing streak, and right now we're up about like 3.5k, don't know if you can see it, but yeah, right now we're up about 3.2k actually. So yeah, right now if this trade were to hit take profit, then we are able to end this month profitable, and also there's a few more working days to end of this month, so there's still hope. Now I want to show you guys this and tell you guys that even professional traders, they still encounter losing streak. That is just part of the game, right? You need to understand that successful traders, they know that they might end this month off with a loss, but they know that at the end of the quarter, they are going to be profitable. That's what separates professional traders from retail traders. They look at every single month result as a definition of their trading performance. So if I end off this month negative, I'm a shitty trader and I suck at trading and I should quit trading. That's not how it is. That's not the reality of being consistently profitable at trading. I can definitely tell you, all these traders, they claim that they are consistently profitable. They are not making money every single month. There are going to be some months where they are losing. But then when those months when they are winning, they actually win so much that it make up for those losing months. So that's just something that I want to share with you guys about being consistently profitable. That's what it means. If not, let's continue to look at another loss. Right, so this trade right here, once again, we were trying to trade the counter trend trade setup, but like I said, this counter trend is just price pulling back to this previous demand range and going up even further. So you can see this was actually quite a shitty trade, right? This is really why I say August is just a bad month to trade. A lot of times price is just consolidate just like this, and there's a lot of manipulation going on, and it's really due to the low volatility of the market, right? So you can see some emotions that I was guilty of, right? I was rushing to enter into the trade, maybe because I lost the previous trade, and then I felt the need to prove to the world that I'm successful at trading. I think this is something that I am 100% really guilty of. The thing about being a trader on YouTube and being in the public eye is that I've always felt the need to actually try to prove to everybody that I'm good at trading, right? That could potentially be why I made this video in the first place. And this kind of caused me to force trades sometimes, right? Especially when the fact that I look at my fans, I look at my viewers, they are trying to pressure me. Hey Brad, why haven't you taken a trade this month? And I just felt the need to trade. And this is something that I need to fix psychologically, because if I don't fix this, this is always gonna cause me to take stupid trades that are outside of my trading plan. Right, I can see right here, causing me to neglect my trading plan. I was a little bit blinded by my greed whatsoever, and I was trying to trade on this 1 minute time frame, which is not really aligned with my plan. And yeah, this is something that I said, always trade in line with the current internal order flow. Since price has not created a market shift on the 50-minute time frame and broke past the 50-minute swing low, we are still bullish. So if you realize this trade, it's the same mistake as the last trade. And you realize that sometimes I'll put like things that I already know inside these key lessons, even though I already know this, to remind myself, okay, you need to stop doing this mistake. You need to learn this lesson and really make sure that you don't commit this mistake in the future. Yeah, that is why you'll see me put some lessons that are quite repeated right here. To me, improving as a trader is not about making more money, but about making lesser mistakes. Yeah, so that's something. And then last but not least, we got a 0.5% risk right here. You can see I'm very aware of my trading performance. If I'm going through somewhat of like a slump where I know for a fact that I'm not performing as well as I should be, I will actually lower my risk per trade to prevent me from losing even more money. So yeah, that's why I put the risk down to 0.5%. And once again, right here, you can see, yeah, I realized the main mistake, if you look at these 3 losses, right, I always try to trade against the trend, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because you can capture these very nice counter trend trade setups, even though they are counter the higher time frame order flow. But the thing is the timing. I'm not really able to time it right, and the bullish order flow always come into the market and overpower my trade, right? So based on this, once again, I felt a little bit of doubt, and there was no confirmation in the shift in structure. Right here you can see, if this trade were to go in my way, right, price were to continue heading back down, but there was not really a shift in structure. This is just price pulling back to this previous demand range, and then demand step into the market and cause price to go up even further. Yeah, so I believe that you learn most in your losses, you learn most from your mistakes, not from your wins. So I'll take these few lessons right here higher time frame bullish order flow, overpower 1 minute bearish order flow, and flip zone did not really work because the price did not really close below the last swing low to confirm a shift in structure, right? So I'll take these lessons and I'll suck it up and I'll move on. Now, while going through these losses, I felt kind of nostalgic to the unfiltered trading episodes that I actually recorded at the start of the channel. So if you want to find them, just go to my channel and go to Oldest. You will see me like winning my first trade, making my first a few $100s from trading like a small account. You can see that the account size was like, I think $50 or something. So I was like aggressively trying to flip that account, not what I should do, by the way. And yeah, you can see like back then, 2 years ago, I've documented my entire trading journey for the entire world to see, to be completely transparent with you guys, right? I've documented my wins, my losses, and I believe in one of these unfiltered trading episodes, I actually lost a trade, and then I was so reluctant on whether I should show this to YouTube, but I did it anyways, because I just wanted to show you guys the truth that I'm not the best trader in the world, right? I don't claim to be the most profitable trader in the world, but what I am is a guy who is extremely consistent in my trading. Now, for me, since day one, since I've started trading 5 years ago, every single day, I'm just consistent, not just when it comes to taking trades, but when it comes to learning more about the markets, learning more from my losses, learning from my wins, and just continuously improve and optimize my trading plan. That led me to where I am today, where I'm able to make like $6,000, $10,000 in a trade. So yeah, sometimes, I guess my point here is that sometimes, for me right now, life is moving so fast where I'm numb to these big numbers. But then if I think back about me 3 years ago, I would be more than happy to be able to make $6,000 or more than $3,000 in a profit, right? That is just big numbers to me back then. But right now, I'm just so numb because I'm so used to seeing these big numbers that it doesn't faze me anymore. It doesn't make me feel the need to actually share them with you guys on Instagram and tell you guys, oh, I made 60k today. I just don't feel that need to seek validation anymore, which is why you see nowadays I'm not really active when it comes to sharing my trades on social media. I'm more of like going ghost right now to really focus on improving my trading performance and focus on mentoring my students and getting my students results, which I'm very proud that they've gotten. If you go to this website right here, thetradingblueprint.com/results, and you just scroll this, it's literally an endless scroll of my students getting amazing results, right? My students getting funded, my students making their first 1k, their first 10k, passing their challenges. Yeah, it just makes me feel so proud that I've built something like this. Like, I've made money from trading and I've just shared it with the entire world, right? Sharing with you guys how I personally trade so that you guys can make money as well. So if you need more proof that my students are profitable, just come here and just scroll. It's an endless freaking scroll, right? And yeah, you can just see people from all over the world, from Bangkok, Australia, US, London, they're just profiting. And if you go to my community right here, we have wins every single day, right? The students are posting their wins. You know, they're capturing high risk to reward ratio trades. They're trading with precision. They have gained so much confidence and clarity when it comes to analyzing the charts. My guy passing his funded challenges, another guy passing his funded challenges right here. And yeah, it's just such a positive community that I've built, and I wouldn't give it away for any amount of money in this world, right? So for me right now, when I look at my trades and I look at the money that I'm making right now, it's no longer about money. It's more about fulfillment. It's more about helping people get results, genuinely helping the traders get to where I am today so that I can change their life, so that I can get you guys to financial location and time freedom and get you to living the life that you can only dream of. That is why I created the Trading Geek. Is to, first of all, document my entire trading journey. Secondly, to simplify trading and make you guys profitable. That is why. That's the sole reason why I exist in life right now. To help you guys. Okay, so in this video, I've showed you that I trade, I've won many trades, I've lost a few trades, my students are profitable, and if you still think that I'm a trading guru or I'm just a YouTuber who doesn't really trade, or I'm a fraud, I'm a scammer or a liar or whatever these stupid naysayers, these brokies are saying about me, you must be out of your fucking mind. Because I've been doing this shit since you were born. buddy, so wake the hell up. At the start of these 3 years, when I started the trading gig, I've promised to myself and promised to the entire world that I will conquer the trading industry one day. And I did. And if I were to lose everything and had to start all over again, I would do it. Because I'm able to simplify trading concepts in a way where no one else in this trading industry can. And I'm extremely honest and transparent and consistent when it comes to the uploads. That is the only reason why I'm up here and the rest of the trading gurus out there is down there. That's what separates me from them. And by the way, the trading gig is back, baby. And remember, you're just one trade away. Mwah!